The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 2, Section 4, Reports in American Newspapers. These reports from American newspapers have been given exactly as they were in original. The wrong spelling of proper names, faulty punctuation, and grammar have been left uncorrected. Divinity of Man, published in Edda Record, February 28, 1894. The lecture on the divinity of man by Swami Vivekananda, the Hindu monk, drew a packed house at the opera last Friday evening, February 22nd. He stated that the fundamental basis of all religions was belief in the soul, which is the real man, and something beyond both mind and matter, and proceeded to demonstrate at the position. The existence of thing material are dependent on something else. The mind is mortal because changeable. Death is simply a change. The soul uses the mind as an instrument and through it affects the body. The soul should be made concise of its power. The nature of man is pure and holy, but it becomes clouded. In our religion, every soul is trying to regain its own nature. The mass of our body, of our people, the mass of our people believe in the individuality of the soul, and we are forbidden to preach that ours is the only true religion. Continuing, the speaker said, I am a spirit and not matter. The religion of the West hopes to gain life with their body. Our teaches, ours teaches that there cannot be such a state. We say freedom of the soul instead of salvation. The lecture proper lasted about 30 minutes, but the president of the lecture committee had announced that at the close of the lecture, the speaker would answer any question propounded him. He gave that opportunity, and liberal use was made of the privilege. They came from preachers and professors, physicians and philosophers, from citizens and students, from saints and sinners. Some were returned, but dozens arose in their seat and propounded their questions directly. The speaker responded to all. Mark the word, please, in an affable manner and in several constant turns the laugh on the inquirer. They kept up the fusillade for nearly an hour when the speaker begged to be excused from further labor. Thereat remained a large pile of unanswered questions. He was an artful dogger of on many of the questions. From his answer, we glean the following additional statement in regard to Hindu belief and teachings. They believe in incarnation of man. One of their teaching is to the effect that their god Krishna was born as of a virgin about 5000 years ago in the north of India. The story is very similar to the biblical history of the Christian of the Christ. Only their God was accidentally killed. They believe in evolution and the transmigration of the soul. Our souls once inhabited some other living thing, a bird, fish, animal, and so our death will go into some other organization or other organism. In reply to the inquiry where these souls were before they came into this world, he said they were in other worlds. The soul is a permanent basis of all existence. There was no time when there was no God, therefore, no time when there was no creation. Buddhists do not believe in the personal God. I am not Buddhist. Mohammedan is not worshipped in the same sense as Christ. Mohammedan believe in Christ but deny he is a God. The earth was peopled by evolution and not special selection. God is a creator and nature the created. We do not have prayers save for the child and then only to improve the mind. Punishment for sin is comparatively immediate. Our actions are not of the soul and can therefore be impure. It is our spirit that becomes perfect and holy. There is no resting place for the soul. It has no material qualities. Man assumes the perfect state when he realizes he is a spirit. Religion is the manifestation of the soul's nature. The deeper they see is what makes one holier than another. Worship is feeling the holiness of God. Our religion does not believe in mission and teaches that man should love God for love's sake and his neighbor in spite of himself. The people of the Western struggle too hard. Repose is a factor of civilization. We do not lay our infirmities to God. There is a tendency towards a union of the religion. Next, Swami Vivekananda on India, published in Bay City Daily Tribune, March 21st, 1894. Bay City had a distinguished visitor yesterday in the person of Swami Vivekananda, the much talker of Hindu monk. He arrived at noon from the Detroit, where he has been the guest of Senator Palmer, and proceeded immediately to the Fraser's house. There he was seen by the reporters for the Tribune. Mr. Vivekananda spoke entirely of his country and his impression of this country. He came to America by Pacific and will return by the Atlantic. This is the great land, he said, but I would not like to live here. Americans think too much of money. They give it preference over everything else. Your people have much to learn. When your nation is as old as ours, you will be wiser. I like Chicago very much, and Detroit is a nice place. Asked how long he intended remaining in America, he replied, I don't know. I am trying to see most of your country. I go east next, and I will spend some time in Boston and New York. I have visited Boston, but not to stay. I have visited Boston, but not to stay. When I have seen America, I shall go to Europe. I was very anxious to visit Europe. I have never been there. Concerning himself, the Easterner said he was 30 years old. He was born in Calcutta and educated at the college in the city. His professor called him to all parts of the country and he is at all time the guest of the nation. India has population of around 2 crore, 2 around 2 million, around 2 million, he said, and out of that 65 lakh are Mohammedans and most of others are Hindu. There are only about 6,000, 60,000. There are only about there are only about 6 lakh Christians in the country, and of this, at least 2 lakhs 50,000 are Catholics. Our people do not, as a rule, embrace Christianity. They are satisfied with their own religion. Some go into Christianity for mercenary motives. They are free to do as they wish. We say, let everybody have his own faith. We are a cunning nation. We do not believe in bloodshed. There are wicked men in our country and they are in the majority, same as in your country. It is unreasonable to accept people to be angels. Vivekanand will lecture in Saginaw tonight. Lecture last night. The lower floor of the opera house was comfortably filled when the lecture began last evening. Promptly at 8:15 clock, Swami Vivekanand made his appearance on the stage dressed in a beautiful oriented costume. He was introduced in a few words by Dr. C.T. Newcritz. The first part of the discourse consisted of an explanation of the different religions of India and of the theory of transmigration of soul. In connection with the latter, the speaker said it was on the same basis as the theory of conversation or conservation was to the scientist. This latter theory, he said, was the first produced by the philosophers of his country. They did not believe in creation. A creation implied making something out of nothing. That was impossible. There was no beginning of creation, just as there was no beginning of time. God and creation are as two parallel lines, without end, without beginning, without parallel. Their theory of creation is it is, was, and is to be. They think all punishment is but reaction. If we put our hands in the fire, it is burned. That is the reaction of the action. The future condition of life is determined by the present condition. They do not believe God punishes you. In this land, said the speaker, praise the man who does not get angry and denounce the man who does become angry. And yet, thousands of people throughout this country are every day accusing God of being angry. Everybody denounces Nero, who sat and played on his instrument while Rome was burning. And yet, thousands of your people are accusing God of doing the same thing today. The Hindus have no theory of redemption in their religion. Christ is only the show, the way. Every man and woman is a divine being, but covered as though by a screen, which their religion is trying to remove. The removal of the Christian called salvation. They are freedom. They freedom. God is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. The speaker then sought to vindicate the religion of his country. He said it was been proven that entire system of the Roman Catholic Church had been taken from the book of Buddhism. The people of the West should learn one thing from India: toleration. Among other subjects which he heard up and overhauled were the Christian missionaries, the zeal of the Presbyterian Church and its non-toleration, the dollar worshipping in this country, and the priest. The latter, he said, were in the business for the dollar, they were in it, and wanted to know how long they would stay in the church if they had to depend on getting their pay from God. After speaking briefly on the caste system in India, our civilization in the South, our general knowledge of the mind, and various other topics, the speaker concluded his remark. Next, Religious Harmony, published in Saginaw Evening News, March 22nd, 1894. Swami Vivekananda, the much talked of Hindu monk, spoke to a small but deeply interested audience last evening at the Academy of Music on the harmony of religion. He was addressed in oriented costume and received an extremely cordial reception. Honorable Roland Connor gracefully introduced the speaker, who devoted the first portion of his lecture to an explanation of the different religions of India and of the theory of transmigration of the soul. The first invader of India, the transmigration of soul. The first invader of India, the Aryans, did not try to exterminate the population of India as the Christians have done when they went into the new land, but the endeavor was made to elevate person of the brutish habit. The Hindu is disgusted with those people of his own country who do not bath and eat dead animals. The northern people of India have not tried to force their customs on the southern people, but the latter gradually adopted many ways of the former class. In the southernmost portion of India, there are few persons who are Christians and who have been so for thousands of years. The Spaniards came to the Ceylon and with Christianity. The Spaniards thought that their God commanded them to kill and murder and to tear down Thean temples. If there were not different religion, no one religion would survive. The Christians need is selfish reason. The Hindu needs his own creed. Those which were founded on the book still stand. Why could not the Christian convert the Jew? Why could they not make the Persians Christians? Why not so with the Mohammedan? Why cannot any impression be made upon China or Japan? The Buddhists, the first missionary religion, have double the number of convert of any other religion, and they did not use sword. The Mohammedan used the most force, and they numbered the least of the three great missionary religion. The Mohammedans have had their day. Every day read of Christian nation acquiring land by bloodshed. What missionaries preach against this? Why should the most bloodthirst nation exalt and allegate religion which is not the religion of Christ? The Jews and Arabs were the father of Christianity, and how have they been persecuted by the Christians? The Christians have been weighed in the balance in India and found wanting. The speaker did not wish to be unkind, but he wanted to show Christians how they looked in other eyes. The missionaries who preached the burning pit are regarded with horror. The Mohammedans rolled wave after wave over India.